Welcome to Distressed to Joyful, Bailey's Way. I'm your host, Bailey Reber, here to enlighten you and the rest of the world about one of the most misunderstood mental disorders out there, bipolar disorder. Each week, we're going to learn more about my personal journey with the disorder while leaving you enriched with new information on how you can help better yourself as well as those around you. Hello, friends! Okay, so before I get started with announcements, I have to tell you something that's really, really funny. So I have a microphone that I record with. I mean, you would think most podcasters would, right? And I've been recording episodes for, I don't know, about 9 months now. We just realized, we being me and my boyfriend who works in, the IT realm, for his job and it's his career, and he loves technology. We just figured out just now that I have had the settings wrong on my laptop, and I've been recording via the microphone on my laptop, not the high quality microphone that I've been holding in my hand. Oh my God, that is absolutely ridiculous. No wonder the background noise has been awful, because it's been using a microphone that's just been capturing everything in the air. You might notice a quality change in the sound, and if you don't, then, just go listen to an older episode and come back to this one and be like, wow, because it's a difference, and I feel really dumb. All right, moving on. Announcements. So, I have finally finished a blog post about what it was like for us during Vegan January. So that took a lot longer than expected, but I appreciate your patience, and I know you are ready to gobble up all of the info on what that experience was like for me and Monish. So you can check the show notes. The link for that blog post will be in there. Otherwise, you can just head on over to the blog, whatisheybaledoing.wordpress.com. The link is also in the episode description of whatever podcast platform you're listening on. And check that out. It's really cool info. We're going to be doing that more often. So more often being like once a year, not like every couple months. Like, I think we've decided every January we're going to do Vegan January to cleanse our bodies. But again, check the article for more really cool info, actually. So, another thing I wanted to tell y'all about that I'm super excited about. That's why, the octane, I think it's called an octane, just like spiked right there because I'm so excited. I just announced the new challenge I have created for myself, which I've posted it on my personal Instagram. I'll post links again in the show notes. But this new challenge is in the realm of creativity and with sewing. A friend of mine, he saw a romper that I had made and posted, and it was 4th of July themed romper, American flag, super cute. He saw that on my Facebook, and he was like, you should make a romper for every single holiday of the year. And this was, back in, I think, July or September, or May, or whenever I posted this romper. And I was like, you know what, that's a pretty cool idea. And the idea sat with me for a while. And then as it got closer to the end of the year last year in 2020, I was like, dude, that's actually a really cool idea. And I talked with this woman, Miss Katie, Miss Katie has been such a wonderful role model. Like, I admire her and look up to her so much when it comes to the sewing realm. She's been sewing, probably started at the same age that I started, except she's got kids who are older than me, and she's got grandkids, and she's like the mother of sewing I need in my life, and she's awesome. And I share all of my sewing projects with her and keep her updated on that. And I told her about this romper idea, and she was like, yeah, that would actually be really, really cool if you just took just one pattern, and created a different romper for every single holiday. And so I'm doing it. I'm really, really doing it. I'm so excited. I just posted the first romper called Be Mine. That's what I titled it. I posted that obviously on Valentine's Day. I mean, does that need any more explanation? But The title of this challenge that I've created for myself, it's called The Year of the Romper, and it's for all of the year of 2021. So, again, I'll have the links in my show notes here, but you can follow What is Hay Bales Doing on Instagram. That is where I'll be keeping up with all of the romper posts. And if you're not already following Distress to Joyful _ Bailey's Way on Instagram, you might as well just do that too. You need both of these in your life now, I'm telling you. There's lots of fun. I'm wild. I do a lot of things all the time, and it's very entertaining for both myself and the outside world. Trust me, you'll see. Just take a sneak peek. Instagram, you got this. Okay, so for this week's episode, we're going to do a little then versus now therapy edition. So, therapy. Oh my God. Okay, first of all, I want to just say that I started going to therapy back in 2012. January of 2012 to be exact. So it's literally been more than 9 years of therapy with the same therapist, mind you, the same therapist. I did try therapy, I think once or twice back when I was 16. So back in like 2010, 2011, when I was like first diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And those therapists, they just weren't right for me. First of all, I was a high school kid. Second of all, I didn't know what I was doing. And third of all, they were weird. Like they were weird. And here's the thing with therapy, guys. You know, I've been seeing the same therapist for the last 9 years. 9 years. We have had 157 sessions in those 9 years. Yeah, that's an exact number. I literally asked my therapist, her name is Chelsea. I asked Chelsea to find out how many. Like, I was like, if it's not that big of a deal, I'm curious. I want to know how many. And 157 sessions in the last 9 years. 38 of them, so 38 have occurred since July of 2017. And honestly, guys, you know, I'll get into this in just a minute, actually. But here's the deal with therapy. And it's also the same with a psychiatrist and really any kind of doctor that you see. But in my opinion, I think it's most important for a therapist because a therapist, you talk about very deep and personal things. So you need someone who can understand from your perspective and who has already has similar values as yourself. So, you know, me being a 20-something-year-old woman, going to a male therapist may not be the best idea. He's not going to understand things from the female perspective like a female therapist would be, right? I mean, if I was telling him about how, you know, pissed off and upset I was about X, Y, and Z, and it made no reason for me to be pissed off about X, Y, and Z, but I was, and I couldn't figure out why. You know, the first instinct, me being a woman, is probably like, oh, it's my period, oh, blah, 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 and I could go check my period calendar, right? A dude's not going to think that. A dude is not going to think that. And also, dudes experience life way differently than women. They do. That's just a matter of fact of life. And, you know, one thing that I found with that first therapist, I remember seeing her. I don't even remember her name. I think I only went to like 2 or 3 sessions. She was strange, and she was kind of wanting me to conform to what she thought was right. And that's the thing with therapy too, guys, is that therapists are not there to give you the answers in life. They're not at all. So please, when it comes to therapy, don't think you're going into it and you're going to have somebody tell you what to do. Because if that's what you're looking for, you already fucked up before you even walked in the door, because that's not what you're going to get. It's not. Therapists, what they do is they ask the questions needed in order for you to sort through your own thoughts and come up with your own solution. Yeah, there's work involved, guys. Work. Therapist doesn't just fix you. You have to go in, you get the necessary tools, and you get things to work on yourselves. Now, I remember this one therapist back when I was 16. I remember her just wanting to tell me what to do, Maybe she wasn't actually doing that, but I think it's kind of what it felt like. It felt like she was kind of pressuring me into X, Y, and Z. And I mean, yes, therapists will try to guide you the best that they can towards the better decision, but they can't do things for you. They cannot make decisions for you, and they are not responsible for how your life turns out. Nobody is responsible for you except for you. But one thing that you do want to find in a therapist is someone that you click with, someone that you feel comfortable with. I mean, I'm not Catholic. I'm not. I'm not even religious, to be honest. So going to see a therapist who is Catholic would be a really bad idea for me because she's got her Catholic beliefs, which are nothing what mine are like, right? And while, religion is not usually brought up and, the center of topic in therapies, people who are very into their own religion, it tends to kind of come out onto others. And, that's just something to keep in mind as well, guys. When you're shopping around for therapists, which I did use the word shop because with all doctors, therapists included, you're allowed to shop, guys. You don't have to go see the same dentist you've been seeing since you were 12 just because you've been seeing them since you were 12. If you don't like the dentist, find yourself a new one. If you don't like your psychiatrist because they want to put you on way more medications than you're comfortable being on, find a new psychiatrist. If you and this therapist that you just met, you don't really click or you don't feel comfortable sharing everything with them, find a new therapist. And again, I'm going to reiterate the importance of a therapist is it's got to be someone that you feel comfortable with, sharing things with. And sometimes it might take a couple sessions to feel comfortable with them. I mean, it took me more than 100 sessions to feel comfortable with Chelsea. I'll go into that in just a minute. But if you look at the therapist that's sitting in front of you and you think, I can't tell them about the one night stand that I had last week, or I can't tell them about how I felt when my parents did X, Y, and Z when I was a kid. If you feel like you have to hold back or that you can't tell them everything and you've been seeing them for multiple sessions, you might want to rethink your therapist. This is not professional advice, by the way. This is my own personal opinion. Keep that in mind. This is my opinion as someone who has seen the same therapist for the last 9 years. Now, let's go ahead and start with the whole then and now of therapy. Let's start back when I first started therapy, and let me just tell you about how that went. So, back then, as an 18-year-old, I hated it. I dreaded going to see Chelsea. I could not wait to get out of that office. I dreaded every single day leading up to the Monday when we would have to drive up to Houston to do that. I hated everything about it. Why? Yeah, I know you're curious as to why. Duh. Because I preach about how great it is now. But I hated it back then because it was forced. And it being forced, it was scary. It was something new I'd never done before. My parents forced me into therapy because I decided to run away from home not long after my 18th birthday, which, by the way, is very illegal in the state of Texas if you have not graduated high school. Which I, again, did not find out until, I didn't find that out until after I ran away. And the state trooper came and picked me up from the place that I had gone. And it was so embarrassing on many different levels. Everybody at school found out. It was just an awful, awful time. Senior year was just an awful, awful time. But besides the fact, they forced me into therapy because I ran away from home. It was like the third time I'd run away from home. I guess they'd had enough of it. Therapy to me was weird because I'd never done it before. I mean, guys, think about the first time you try anything. Brene Brown has this saying, she calls it FFTs, fucking first times. Because the first time that you do things, it usually fucking sucks. It's uncomfortable. It's not fun. It's weird. It's scary. It's all the things that I just mentioned. And that's exactly what therapy was when I first started. A fucking first time, damn it. That's what it was. But also, guys, it felt shameful. It felt shameful that I was in therapy because, first of all, we didn't discuss it in my household. It was not an option for me. I was forced into it. And I was forced into it because I had run away from home for the third time. This time being the most, grandeur of scams or scandals or whatever you want to call it, because state troopers came and picked me up. I didn't return home on my own like the other two times. But also, it wasn't normalized in my household either. So I was forced to do it, and then we didn't even talk about it later. And I didn't want to be there. So it just made everything, it just was awful for me at the time, given my situation, because it was not my choice. And especially because it felt like punishment. It felt like punishment. Like, you ran away from home, you get to see a fucking therapist. Get your ass in there. It's literally what it felt like. Oh gosh, and I'm gonna describe the atmosphere when I first walked in. So, she rented a small room that was in the same office as a private masseuse. And hey, you gotta start somewhere. So there is no shame in the game. She has a amazing office now that's in a building with a bunch of other therapists, and she'd been waiting forever and a half apparently to get into this place. But before that, like, me walking in, never have gone to therapy before. I didn't know what to expect. I had no idea what I was doing. I just remember walking in and the ambiance was very, what's the word? Like a massage parlor, guys. You've been to a massage parlor. It's just very still and calm. And there was a little fountain with like running water. So there was a soothing, watery sound. There was like really nice aromas. And that was all in the back, though. So, like, excuse me, the massage parlor was all in the back. The front, like what I'm talking about just now, was like the little waiting area. Except they didn't have a receptionist because, again, it was a private masseuse who was renting this office space with my therapist, Chelsea. Like, she used one of the rooms, the massage person used the other ones. And so when we'd get there, we'd have to text her and be like, hey, we're here. And she would come open the front door, like unlock it, let us in, lock it back. And then my parents would wait in this little waiting room with the little nice ambiance and blah, blah, blah. And then she and I would go into, like, literally the door was right there in the waiting room. And we'd go behind that door into her little room, her therapy room. She had a couch that was back up against this window that had all these blackout curtains. There was like a rug. There was a lamp on the side table next to the couch with some tissues. She had her chair across from me and a filing cabinet behind her, and like a bookshelf and clocks and like all kinds of shit all over the walls. Okay, I don't mean shit. She had a bunch of art. But, when I was first ever walking in, it seemed weird. I'm like, it was really cool art. It was. And she still has most of that art as far as I can remember. I haven't actually physically been into her office since, 2020 pandemic decided to strike. But she had that, and she also had all of her like degrees hung up on the wall, like all that kind of stuff. And now the ambiance is cool. Like, honestly, I miss physically being in her office. But back then it was different. And it just felt weird. It just straight up felt weird. It was too calming for the for the chaotic household that I came from, I guess. I don't know. And something that really irked me about going in there was that she just asked me so many questions. Ironic, because if you've ever met me in person, I ask so many questions. So, like, why do I hate that somebody else was doing that to me, huh? No, but she asked me a ton of questions that I either didn't want to answer or that I was just downright afraid to answer. Because honestly, I feared that she would tell mom and dad what I was saying and that I would be punished even more. Yeah, straight up. I was afraid that she was telling my parents everything that I said, even though, because I was not a minor, because I was over the age of 18, she wasn't even allowed to do that anyways. And so, boom. And I don't think she's even allowed to do that unless I'm putting my life into direct danger. I really think that that's the thing, is that everything is just completely confidential between the therapist and the patient per HIPAA. unless, life-threatening anything comes along. But guys, out of fear, you know what I did? I lied a lot to Chelsea. A lot. Oh my God. And remember how I talked about how I've gone to 157 sessions with her? And 38 of those have occurred since the end of July of 2017. So I actually stopped seeing Chelsea in September of 2017 until January of 2019. So that whole year and a half of there or whatever, right? So roughly probably about 34 sessions have occurred since the beginning of 2019 until current. About 34. So those 34 sessions, subtract that from 157. My God, that's 123 sessions where I spent 90% of the time lying to my therapist. Yeah. I was forced into it, guys. My parents made me do it, and out of fear of punishment, I lied to her a lot. And I know she knows that. I know she knows that because when the truth started to come out, 34 sessions ago, first of all, that was a big hitter when she could figure out that I was lying about things. But second of all, dude, body language gives away so much. So much. And to be honest, if any of y'all are therapists listening right now, you're probably going to agree when I say that I'm pretty sure they don't like this whole Zoom thing because you can't really read a person's body language fully unless you're in the room with them. And man, Chelsea's good at body language. I don't know if it's taken her time to get used to it and get real good at it or what, or it's because she's known me for over 9 years now. Though at one of our last sessions in person, I can remember where she asked me a question and I answered it. And she goes, "Are you sure of your answer?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And she said, "Well, you just shifted your whole, how I was sitting, I think. I think I shifted around how I was sitting when I talked to her." And she explained to me that the shifting movement when I was saying those words made her question whether or not I was even positive about my own answer. I was like, damn, she's good. She's really good. So, yeah, but that was therapy when I first started, okay? It was just awkward and weird. And also, guys, you have to keep in mind that that was in 2012. And I don't know of anybody who was actually talking highly about therapy and mental health back then. I don't. But let's go ahead and discuss how therapy is for me now. It is so helpful. It is so helpful. Oh my God. Chelsea gives me tools and techniques and tips and books to read and insightful videos to watch and all kinds of other resources all the time. She's always piling me up with all kinds of things where I can, in my own time, do some extra research or extra learning or extra work. Because once again, guys, therapy is your own job. It is what you have to do. You have to work if you want to get better. Boom. Self-growth. Self-growth in a nutshell. And guys, I actually look forward to therapy now. And I even have a little journal by my nightstand that I take notes in so I can make sure I don't forget to discuss very important things with Chelsea and that I don't get so sucked up in what's currently going on right now because Chelsea and I are actually working on past. We are trying to work me through things that happened in the past so that I can have a much better future and a much better, easier present. So, yeah, I've learned that Chelsea is not to be feared. She is not scary. She is not judging me. She is strictly here to help. And if anybody is going to understand anything I have to say, it's going to be my goddamn therapist, y'all. It is. And it's really comforting to sit there and explain all of this hurt that I'm feeling or this pain or whatever it might be in the moment and for her to look at me and just give so much empathy that I feel you, I hear you, I understand you. What can we do? Not what can we do so much of she starts with the question asking because the question asking gets me thinking about what I can do. And guys, that right there, I've already said that. That's what therapists are there for. They are there in order to help you through life, but also they're there to give the comfort and the empathy that we need. Empathy, unfortunately, is hard to come by these days, but your therapist, 9 out of 10 times, will be willing to give you that 100%. And also, guys, one thing that I really love about therapy now 9 years later, is that so many more people are now getting involved in therapy. They're seeing therapists and they're talking openly about it. So, that's exactly what I'm doing right here and right now. I'm talking openly about my therapist because I'm so comfortable and so happy with all of the work that she and I have done to where I want more people to do this. I want more people to get in on this goodness because, wow, it has helped me tremendously, guys. Tremendously. If you have some time and you're like really bored and you need something to do, you should go to my personal Instagram page, the What is Hey Bells Doing. Scroll back to old posts. I don't archive hardly anything. So scroll back and go see what kind of person I was years ago. Go see how I used to drink all the time. Go see that I was 60 pounds overweight. Go see all of these things. And when you start scrolling up towards the present, you're going to see so much progress and so much change. And yes, I am the person who did all of that. I'm the person who did all of the work. But I didn't do it alone. No one ever does things alone, guys. We don't. We have help from others. And for me, my therapist has been a massive help. She probably knows that already, but of course I'm going to tear up. God damn, I'm so glad that this is a podcast. You can't see me like emotional, like get emotional and like tear up over all the things. But she has helped me tremendously and in so many more ways, and I am forever grateful for her. And I hope that we can continue therapy for as long as needed where she can stay my therapist. Like, I don't want anybody else to be my therapist ever. I don't know if that's even allowed. Because there's a book I want you guys to look into, and I'll post about this as well. But it's called Maybe You Should Talk to Somebody by Lori Gottlieb. I think that's how you pronounce her last name. I've talked about it in previous episodes. But this book is a therapist who undergoes therapy and talks about her entire experience of a therapist seeing a therapist while being a therapist to other people. That was a whole jumble of lots of things, but for real though, they're supposed to make some kind of Netflix show about it, I think. It's really, really eye-opening and really, really good. Oh my God. So if you want a little bit more help on kind of understanding not just the point of therapy, because I think a lot of people don't really understand what therapy is here for. But if you also want some different perspectives and to see how one person can help so many different kinds of people in the different ways that they need it, you need to read Maybe You Should Talk to Someone. You'll learn a lot about the behind the scenes of the therapist, about what they're actually trying to do for you, and that they're here for you, guys. Therapists are always here for you, and you might not like what they're saying. You might hate that they tell you to stay off dating apps. You might hate that they're telling you to try to exercise every day and to eat a little healthier because that will help your mental health. You might hate hearing all the things that they will constantly drill into your head until you finally one day get it. I'm not talking about anybody I know here while saying that. No, not at all. But for real though, you might not like what they have to say, but they're saying it and they're trying to help you because they want what's best for you. They really, really do. I'm telling you. Alrighty, well, as always, thank you for tuning in to this week's show. Next week, we are going to talk about the Enneagram. I'm super excited. Some of y'all might already know a little bit about it, but honestly, I knew nothing about the Enneagram until, yep, you guessed it, therapy. I learned it from my therapist, Chelsea, and she actually had me read a book, which I will talk all about that and more in next week's episode. But feel free to do a little Googling on your own time between now and next Monday in order to kind of figure out what it is. Or just keep the suspense and just wait. Like, be patient, young grasshopper, and you'll hear it when you get it, when I talk about it a week from now. You can have some patience. I'm kidding. Anyways, if you enjoyed the episode, do me a favor, take a screenshot, post it on your social media, tag distress to joyful _Bailey's Way on Instagram, and just spread the word about why you like listening to this podcast. And let's get some more friends involved, guys. And if you have Apple Podcasts, you should do your girl a favor and just leave me a review. Pretty please and thank you. I read all of them and I love them. And yeah, I appreciate you so much. But until next time, take it easy, stay grateful, and be joyful. Bye.